What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. It's your boy Kangaroo Black, coming back once again to talk about my Alabama Crimson Tide and to pose a question to everybody who watched this video. And that question is, as of today, right now, moving forward, who is the face of college football? Who is the face of college football? Is it still my Alabama Crimson Tide? Is it the Georgia Bulldogs? Is it the current college football champion, Michigan Wolverines? Could it be Ohio State? Could it be Texas, who's a up-and-coming football program? And I say Texas because Texas have one of the most talented rosters in all of college football, along with the other teams that I have named. You might can even throw Oregon in there with the talent. Okay, so let me know who y'all think is the face of college football. And y'all already know, without a shadow of doubt, old KB think that his Alabama Crimson Tide is still and will continue to be the face of college football. And I'm going to tell y'all why I think that way. Okay, so let's go ahead and get into it. First of all, we're going to start out with the talent level that Alabama has. As far as the talent level, there's nothing that can hold Alabama back from winning a national championship, even in year one under Kalen DeBoer. There's nothing holding them back. You might look at the staff that Alabama and Kalen DeBoer has brought in. Look at it. You can scrutinize it. You can go through it with a fine-tooth comb. But every one of those guys that are coaches that's on this current Alabama coaching staff has been successful everywhere they've been. Every one of those guys had success up and down their resume. Okay, so hey, it is what it is. I know Nick Sheridan, he's been fired at a couple of places. Fine and dandy. Fine and dandy. But under Coach Kalen DeBoer, he has been very successful. Extremely successful. And you know Coach Kalen DeBoer has had nothing but success throughout his career. Won at every place he done been. You look at Jamarcus Shepard, very successful under Coach Kalen DeBoer. All right. You look at Brian Ellis. He's also a successful coach at daggone Georgia. He coming from Georgia Southern, a daggone FCS program as the head coach. Before that, he was I believe he was the offensive coordinator before he became the head coach, and he was very successful as an offensive coordinator. Now, as a head coach, he wasn't that successful, but a lot of coordinators go on to be head coaches and not very successful as a head coach. Even though this guy, he just didn't have no disaster of a season as a head coach. Okay, then you got Chris Kaplowitz. Matter of fact, he coming from Baylor, but he never coached a game at Baylor. Like I said, he was just hired there in December. All right, he came from Michigan State as an athlete, as assistant head coach and outside linebacker. All right, and when he was at Michigan State, matter of fact, I believe they went 11-1. I think he was there on 2, maybe 3 seasons. But one of those seasons went 11-1. But anyway, we got some successful coaches. Then you got Kane Womack coming from South Alabama, Group of 5 program. All right. When he was at South Alabama, he was the head coach. All right. But I think before that, he was the defensive coordinator. And his defenses was stellar as far as the conference he was in, or basically, I don't give a damn what division you in, what conference, what level of football. The object of the game is winning. And these coaches have won. All right, I don't give a damn if you had a Group of 5, FCS, dang Power 5, whatever you can call it, the Power 4 now. But it don't matter. The object of the game is the same, and that's to win. You got Freddie Roach. You know what he about at Alabama. Also Robert Gillespie. You got those two coaches. They ain't did nothing but win at Alabama. Then you got Christian Robinson coming from Baylor. He been at Baylor for the past 2 seasons, I believe, as an outside linebackers coach. He done been at, I think, 3 stops in the SEC. So hey, and he played in the SEC. So these coaches are successful. Colin Hitzler, Wisconsin. All right, he was co-defense coordinator and a safeties coach over there. And then you got Maurice Linguist. He was the head coach at Buffalo, a Group of 5 program. All right. So hey, well, you might say this staff that I just called out, ain't no way they can be successful in the SEC. Well, you about to find out. All right. But this is how I know Alabama's still the face of college football, because you know why? Everybody is talking about this Alabama staff. How many coaches that Kalen DeBoer had to replace. And every time he hired somebody, somebody had something to say. All right. You want to talk about the coaches leaving, coaches being replaced. But like I say, with every coaching change, especially head coaching change, there is going to be a turnover as far as the coaching staff. Okay. You got teams that didn't even have a head coaching change, still losing a plethora of coaches. But you seem to only talk about, and I'm talking about the fans and the college football media. They only seem to be talking about and concerned with the Alabama football staff and who is Kalen DeBoer hiring. Nobody, I mean absolutely nobody, is talking about when Jim Harbaugh decided to leave Michigan and go to the NFL. Nobody's talking about the coaches that left because Jim Harbaugh wasn't there no more. Nobody's talking about that. Nobody's talking about that Jim Harbaugh had to replace 4 coaches. You won't even know it unless you're looking for it. Or maybe if you're a Michigan fan, but outside of Michigan fans, nobody knew that. Come on now, they had to replace the defensive coordinator, defensive line coach, linebackers coach, and their DB coach. But who would know that outside of Michigan? Or Michigan fans, if you don't just follow Michigan, you wouldn't know it. It ain't nobody going to look for it either. Matter of fact, they replaced their defensive coordinator with Wink Martindale, and he haven't coached college football in 20 years. He's been in the NFL. But who would know that? But I guarantee you, if it was at Alabama, all the college football world would know it, and fans of damn near every fan base, especially in the SEC, would know that, and they would be talking about it. Just like they talking about not Kane Womack, but just like they talking about Kalen DeBoer hiring Kane Womack, all right, from a Group of 5 program. Just like they talking about daggone hiring Maurice Linguist from a Group of 5 program. All right, just like they talking about Brian Ellis hiring him from an FCS program. Nobody would have knew Michigan replaced 4 coaches. That's how I know Alabama is still the face of college football. Just like when Michigan won that national championship, you know, they won it on the Monday. It was talked about Tuesday. Nick Saban retired that Wednesday. You ain't heard nothing else about Michigan in that national championship. Nothing until Jim Harbaugh decided he was leaving Michigan to go to the NFL. And that was talked about, what, a couple of days, 2 days, and back to talking about Alabama. Ain't nobody talking about other programs like they talking about Alabama, unless you a fan of that program. And even then, when you talking about your own program, you putting the Alabama in the mix. That's how I know Alabama is still the face of college football. And you talking about coaching changes, Michigan, the current national champion, nobody's talking about them. They coaching changes. Georgia Bulldogs, nobody's talking about them and their coaching changes, unless you're a Georgia Bulldog fan or a Michigan fan. Who would have knew? Who would have knew that Georgia done replaced 1, 2, 5 coaches? Who would have knew it? Because if you ain't looking for it, you wouldn't have knew it. They had to replace who? Their wide receiver coach. They got to replace their running back coach. They had to replace their DB coach. They had to replace the special teams coach, and they had to replace our analyst. Who would have knew? Nobody is talking about all that. All they is talking about is the Alabama coaching staff. Who is being hired? where they are coming from. That's it. Georgia had to replace their wide receiver coach. So anyway, what was his name? I had it wrote down, but anyway, they had to replace their wide receiver coach. I believe he left and went to Tampa Bay, I believe. I'm not sure. But anyway, he wasn't no stellar wide receiver coach anyway, and you could see that in the wide receiver play at Georgia. But anyway, they replaced their wide receiver coach with James Collie. James Collie was on their program as an offensive coordinator in 2019. And guess what? When he was their offensive coordinator, their offense went from 3rd to 6th in pass yards per play. Well, in yards per play. From 3rd to 6th. So he wasn't stellar. He was a fall off from what they had previous. And then the offense fell from 2nd to 5th in scoring under this guy. Kirby, he demoted him. And then the guy decided to go to Texas A&M and coach under damn Jimbo Fisher. But anyway, and then Kirby hired him back. Why would you go back and coach for a guy that basically got rid of you? He ain't firing, but he demoted him. And then he left and went to Texas A&M. So why would you go back and play or coach for a guy who demoted you? And you ain't got no damn better. But anyway, ain't nobody talking about that. Nobody is talking about that Georgia lost a wide receiver coach. But anyway, it is what it is. And then they got to replace their running back coach. They had to replace their DB coach, and they came and got Tavares Robinson. That was talked about for about, what, 2 or 3 days? And Alabama being that he came from Alabama was still being talked about then. And then they lost Scott Cochran just last week, the special teams coach. They lost him. Nobody's talking about that. Then they lost an analyst. So, hey, Alabama is still being talked about. Because if I wouldn't have told you these things, that Georgia had to replace 5 coaches, Michigan had to replace 4 coaches, you wouldn't have never knew that. You wouldn't have never knew it. And then, wow, another reason why Alabama is the face of college football, look at the amount of players they lost to the transfer portal plus the draft. And a lot of people still got them going to the playoff, even though it's a 12-team playoff. Okay, so hey, it is what it is. Y'all can talk crazy about Alabama, but y'all know I'm telling the damn truth. All right, Alabama done lost 38 players as far as the transfer portal and the draft. 38 players, and everybody talking about, oh, look how many players they done lost. Look how many players they done lost. They ain't gonna make it. Some people saying we ain't gonna make it to the playoff. Some saying that we will. All right, but when you losing 38 players and then a coaching staff major overhaul, why would anybody have them still making the playoff? Because they Alabama and they are the face of college football. That's all. That's fact, man. This ain't opinion. That is fact. 38 players. A major overhaul to the coaching staff, including the head coach. So come on now. Let that happen anywhere else. But anyway, it is what it is, man. It is what it is. So you can't deny that my Alabama Crimson Tide is still the face of college football. No way. No how. But anyway, like I said, we lost 38 players. It's fine, including Caleb Downs and Isaiah Bond, who to me, well, okay, and then Amari Nee Black, he was a starter too. But those are the only 3 that had an impact in 2023 for my Alabama Crimson Tide. But everybody else want to talk like every player we lost to the portal was just this stellar all-American player. When shit, 90% of 92% were sitting on the damn bench and ain't never hit the field. But hey, they talk like that just because it's Alabama. Would y'all have knew? Getting back to these Georgia Bulldogs, I believe they lost like 30 players between the transfer portal and the draft. 30 players. But you wouldn't have knew that if I'm not telling you. You know why? Because nobody talks about it. Nobody. Georgia was the national championship 21-22. And Alabama was still getting more notoriety than they was as a back-to-back national champion, just like Alabama is getting more notoriety than Michigan is as the current champion. That's how I know they are the face of college football. You can't tell me nothing different. Another reason why Alabama is still the face of college football. I don't give a damn how you look at it. As far as the playoff era, Alabama done been to the playoffs more than anybody in college football. Alabama got more playoff wins in the playoff era than anybody. Alabama got more national championships in the playoff era than anybody. Alabama got more conference championships in the playoff than anybody. So, hey, it is what it is. And if you know, as far as the SEC done won 6 national championships in the playoff era, and Alabama done won half of them. 3 out of 6. So, hey, it is what it is, baby. You might can say your team is the face of college football, but can you back it up with straight facts like I can? No, you can't. So therefore, in my opinion, and probably in yours too, even if you're a fan of another fan base, Alabama is still the face of college football. That's just the way it is. And under Coach Kalen DeBoer, I believe it's going to continue to be that way. That's just my belief. But we will see in the very near future. And I ain't just talking about in year 1. I'm talking about 2, 3, 4, 5 years down the line. That's what I'm talking about. But I have no doubt in my mind that Alabama can win a national championship in Kalen DeBoer's first year. Call me crazy. I don't care. That's just my opinion. Because Coach Kalen DeBoer has won everywhere he done been. Coach Kalen DeBoer, 4-8 Washington, to 11-2 the very next season. And then in year 2, I mean the very first season, he took over 4-8 team. They go 11-2. And then the very next season, he go 14-1. Make it to the national championship. The only game they lost. So why can't he win it at Alabama in his first season in 2024 with the talent that he has? Why can't he? I and anybody would be a fool to doubt that. So hey, call me crazy. Call me what you want to. But I tell you what, you can call my Alabama Crimson Tide the face of college football. Then, now, and later, roll damn tide.